It's Saturday, so you know what that means. It is at the end of the week of Roundup, covering all the latest of wrestling news, rumors, and reports. Lots of WWE and AEW news to talk about. Tony Khan taking a direct shot at WWE and at Vince McMahon. What went down on this week's SmackDown and more. So make sure to have those notifications turned on and let's get right into it. Starting off with all the latest, next week is going to be very interesting, especially on Friday, and AEW is making sure that everybody knows about it in multiple ways. First off, we had Tony Khan sending out a tweet directed at WWE and Vince McMahon after it was announced that next week's episode SmackDown is going to be a quote-unquote supersized SmackDown, as it will be running for an extra half an hour, which means that for the first time ever, their live broadcast will go head-to-head with AEW Rampage for those last 30 minutes from 10 to 10:30. Rampage, of course, runs from 10 all the way up to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, so this really feels like the first time that AEW is gonna go head-to-head with one of WWE's main roster brand. And I simply say that because clearly WWE will tell us that NXT is just developmental, because that's what they wanted it to be, unfortunately. Nonetheless, in response to all of this news and that half an hour battle that's gonna be happening next week, Tony Khan took a direct shot tweeting out the following: "I saw you're doing half an hour head-to-head with us. I can't wait to finally beat your main show head to head. It's been a long time coming. See you next Friday for AEW Rampage on AEW on TNT." Both shows are obviously stacked. Something very interesting to know is that AEW Rampage will be live. This is not going to be a pre-tape episode, so they definitely gonna throw everything out there to try to beat WWE, even if it is for that half an hour. And they have a very good chance because next week's SmackDown is going to be on FS1, meaning that because they're not on their official Fox channel, just a secondary to it, those ratings are gonna be going down for SmackDown regardless of the competition. So it will be interesting to see how both shows perform. It's gonna be a great night all throughout because both events are going to be stacked. SmackDown already announced Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks, the semi-finals for both of the tournaments, and the appearance of Brock Lesnar, whereas AEW for Rampage ended up announcing CM Punk versus Matt Sydal, which is probably gonna open up the show, Ruby Soho versus The Bunny, and the Inner Circle versus Men of the Year and Junior Dos Santos. But that wasn't the only shot that AEW took at WWE, because earlier on in the day, AEW ended up sharing an article that took a direct shot at the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon. AEW's official Twitter account shared the Variety article, which had the headline, "Vince McMahon is finally getting what he hasn't seen in 20 years, competition." You don't even have to read the article to know what it's about, but clearly it's a direct shot at Vince McMahon. And the fact that AEW is direct competition to WWE, even if WWE doesn't want to accept it just yet. The internet wrestling community obviously got all over this. Vince McMahon's name was trending, so it was a smart move to get people talking about AEW and to understand what AEW is compared to WWE. It is worth mentioning though that of course this article is heavily biased towards AEW. Seems like the person involved in writing it is heavily connected with Tony Khan and AEW, so it makes sense why even AEW pointed it out and tweeted it on their main account to get everybody talking about it. A bit controversial, I guess some would say, scummy way to get the word out there, but let's be honest, last time WWE took advantage and did something like this was probably 2 seconds ago, so can we really blame AEW? One thing is certain, and that is that the competition is heating up, and I'm all for it because it will ultimately create for both product to be better. So even if you watch both, or if you just watch one of them, technically you're still gonna be winning. Getting into some quick news, and hopefully WWE doesn't follow up with this controversial pick, as there is reports that Alberto Del Rio might be coming back to WWE. The Wrestling Observer newsletter indicated that Alberto Del Rio has been telling people that he is returning to WWE when his quote-unquote legal situation of alleged assault is resolved, whenever that gets cleared up. For what it's worth though, Meltzer did indicate that he doesn't believe Alberto Del Rio claims, indicating that he will be shocked if WWE does bring him back. And I hope Meltzer is right on this one. His track record hasn't been the greatest as of late, but please WWE, try to keep that toxicity out of the roster. You obviously already have enough of that. You already made some controversial decisions over the last couple of months that many fans continue to be disappointed. On to some other quick news. There were a couple of NXT superstars getting drafted on this year's draft. Austin Theory is going to Monday Night Raw, and as we know, WWE, especially Vince McMahon, is said to be high on him. We covered the reports of WWE having high hopes for him, but another NXT superstar that seems to be on a good track right now as well is Ridge Holland, as WWE management is also said to be high on him. The Observer went on to indicate that WWE believes that he could be a future WWE champion. Holland has the look and size that Vince McMahon wants. Other names that manager sees as potential stars include Von and Braun Breaker on NXT, but that has become pretty obvious as the last two has been getting a push on the Tuesday brand. Back to Ridge Holland, who is drafted to SmackDown. Expect to see more of him and to ultimately break into a top tier superstar on the roster. Now, will WWE keep up with all of this is the question, because we have seen it in the past where they're high on a certain superstar, they get a really good streak going, and then things kind of fall off. There's a lot of former NXT superstars on the main roster right now struggling. That is because WWE want to be changing everything that was already working, so unfortunately even reports like this are a little bit concerning because it might lead to disappointment. Quick highlight for what went down on SmackDown this week. We had Bianca Belair slamming Becky and Sasha Banks through a table. Sami Zayn defeated Rey Mysterio to advance to the semifinals in the King of the Ring tournament. We also got to see Finn Balor defeat Cesaro in a really good match to also go into the semifinals. So next week we're getting Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn. On the women's tournament side of things, we got Zelina Vega defeating Toni Storm and Carmella defeating Liv Morgan. Needless to say, the internet was not happy with Liv Morgan already getting first rounded. We had Roman Reigns questioning Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman went on to deliver an awesome promo about Brock Lesnar falling to Roman at Crown Jewel and how Roman is Brock Lesnar's match, much like Brock was The Undertaker's match. And Paul Heyman knows all about this. This promo was great because by the end of it, you really didn't know if Paul Heyman was lying or not. There was a couple of winks here and there that kind of swerved you to thinking that maybe he is going to betray Roman at Crown Jewel. It's going to be interesting to see what happened. Kevin Owens invaded their Happy Talk and paid the price as Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss ended up attacking him. And then on the main event segment, we had Edge accepting Seth Rollins' challenge, attacking him and adding a stipulation to their next match, and that is going to be a Hell in a Cell matchup. And I'm just happy that finally we are getting a Hell in a Cell match that actually makes sense to end a feud that has been a bloody one, that has been a really good one, a personal one, and again, one that actually needs the Hell in a Cell to end things off. That matchup is gonna happen at Crown Jewel. So that is your end of the week wrestling news, rumors, and reports roundup. If you want more coverage, don't forget to turn on those notifications. I'll catch you on the next one, so stay savage.